What's up, guys? We are back. We were talking about the NA Qualifier 3 double elimination part of the bracket and what happened and what we should expect this weekend coming up. A couple notes really quick. Squishy, he has made it to the main event. I just want to get him out of the way first. I don't know exactly what the plans are for his last tournament. It's very likely this is his last tournament. He said he's going to retire after this split. I don't know exactly what the plans are for Friday. My thing that I'm going to try and push is, like, as soon as they're on 2 losses, we show Muffin Men. It does not matter if they start 0-2 and go back and try and reverse sweep the Swiss. We watch Muffin Men the rest of the way. We should see Squishy's last games on the main stream. That's what I would do. I don't know if that'll exactly happen, but hopefully that is the plan. Let's talk about everyone else now. We'll go into the screen here, and we'll start talking about who made it, what the rankings look like, who can make major, and all of that. So we'll start at the top. Obviously, G2 versus Gobble. Huge upset there. G2 with a 3-0. Well done by them. They also took down Snowmen. I think it was kind of close, but I can't remember the exact results, and that they don't show them here. So I'm not going to go into incredible detail because obviously there's a lot going on a Sunday. You got the European stuff, you got the NA stuff, you got my bedtime, and all of that. So there's a lot going on. I'm an old man. But we'll talk about Europe probably later in the week. I want to watch the KC BDS match. I might do that tomorrow morning on stream. And then we'll probably have some videos based upon that because it was pretty good. But let's continue. We got Space Station versus Energy. Energy's a weird one. They go to Game 5 versus Shmoo, and then they go to Game 5 against Space Station. So can't really make out too much from them. But Space Station does make it through in the upper bracket. Luminosity does work. Like Incorrect versus G-Buffo. That was one of those, like, who's the next up? And in this case, neither. Luminosity handles this pretty easily, which we've come to expect out of Luminosity. Their only real bad loss this whole year has been against Energy one time, and they righted that wrong the following day, right, with a 4-0. Then you got TSM. TSM, if they're not on stream, top 5 team in the world. Once they reach an RLCS stream or once they reach an RLCS main event, it's like, I don't know about that. They finished Qual 1-1-3, Qual 2-2-3. Is it time? 3-2? Is it time? TSM takes down M80. Good result from them. M80, this is now 2 tournaments. I believe Qualifier 1. I'm going to just check real quick. Didn't TSM also take out M80 in this one? Or maybe I'm wrong. Oh, no, okay. I'm mistaken. Oh, no, they took out OG. That's who it was. So TSM, this is the second time they've made it through as a top 8 seed. I forgot who was against, though. But yes, so they are through yet again, but they still have not shown it when it matters most. So we'll see how they do here. Omelette, after missing the first qualifier, then in qualifier 2, having to go through the lower bracket, they lost on day 1, I believe. Now they finally make it through the upper bracket, so they are getting better and better in these best of 3 scenarios, then turn into best of 5 later. They take down Dignitas, and Dignitas, it's tough, right? They win game 5 against Pickup Team. They lose in game 5 versus Omelette. We talk about the pumpkin thing of, like, will they ever turn into a pumpkin? Because I don't think the roster on paper is incredibly strong. But the results counter that completely. But we saw it last time around. Their 1-3 in Swiss was miserable. It was not good. I'm going to really quickly show you. Because sometimes when there's a 1-3 in Swiss, you're like, well, they just had a tough road. Like maybe an OG when they played gen.g and then Dignitas. But their road was very easy. They lost to Omelette again there in round 1 in game 5. They beat the Leftovers, who only beat an 0-3 team. And then they lose to Pirates on a Boat and OG. Both those teams did wind up making it, but they made it in as a 3-2 team, right? So wasn't a great result from them. So they're kind of on a downhill trend. We'll see if they can pick it up. We'll talk about their rankings in a little bit here. But it's not looking good right now if you are a Dignitas fan. But they still made it into the main event, which we'll get to in a bit in the lower bracket. OG takes down Deleted. Deleted went to game 5 versus Akron. Deleted did not make it into the top 16 for the first time. They've been that consistent, like 1-3 team-ish. but this time they failed to qualify. Gen.g takes down Muffin Men 3-0. Muffin Men takes down Young Whippersnappers 3-0, which is a big result for them, I would say, based on their results recently. Qualifier 2, they didn't qualify because they ran into Energy. Qualifier 1, they did make the main event, went 1-3. They lost to Energy to knock him out. So Garrett G has knocked Squishy out of his last 2 tournaments. Will he make it 3 for 3? You better bet on Thursday. My predictions are going to have probably Energy versus Muffin Men. I'm going to try and make this happen at 1 and 2, and Energy takes down Muffin Men. But we'll see what Squishy does. They did make it, which we'll talk about in a few minutes here. Pirates on the Boat have been fantastic. They literally just beat everyone below them, lose to everyone above them. Very consistent top 8 team. Probably the most consistent team outside of like a space station, who only loses to like the top dogs. Pirates on a Boat keep doing it. 3-0 versus Shopify Rebellion. That's a fantastic result. They also 3-0'd Boise State, so good on them. M80 in the bottom side of the bracket. They advance comfortably. Young Whippersnappers have to battle a little bit longer, but they do make it back to their second main event. They lose to Incorrect. They beat Incorrect, so Incorrect is knocked out. Energy comfortably, which is not something that happens a lot. Fear My Chili, they 3-0 them. Fear My Chili took, who'd they take? They took one of these teams to like a game 5. Yes, it was OG. So Fear My Chili, not terrible on the day. They obviously went through the lower bracket pretty comfortably. But Energy, that is a great result for them in terms of like confidence going into this. We'll see if they can replicate their last Swiss, which I completely got wrong in my predictions. I didn't believe. Snowmen taking down Plot Twist to make it back to their second qualifier. Plot Twist miss again. Plot Twist, it's just like they're just so close, but so far. Shopify Rebellion takes out Leftovers to make it back to keep their major hopes alive. Muffin Men takes down Jibufu. 3-1. Sorry, this is a joke that will end here. I assume it's not going to happen in Split 2. But Muffin Men, they do advance to the main event. Squishy in his very last tournament to be fair, he's got 2 tournaments left, right? If he wins this regional, he's going to the major, or he has a chance to go to the major. So could be 2 more tournaments left. We'll see if the dream stays alive. Boulevard coming out with their first qualifier main event. Taking out Deleted, so that's a poor result for Deleted, but kudos to Boulevard for making it through. And Dignitas 3-0, whatever their name is. So, all in all, if we look at the rankings, which I want to show you that, here's what we're looking at. The top 11 teams all qualified. The top 11 teams is a magical number-ish because as long as they win the tournament, they control their own destiny. Every single one of these teams in the top 11 control their own destiny. TSM is the only one that if they win the tournament, they could be forced into a tiebreaker, but then they still control their own destiny, right? Because they can just win that tiebreaker and they are in to the major for a top 4 spot. So it's a very important number there. These are the teams you're going to be looking out for to possibly make it. Now, a couple notes here. Very unlikely that TSM makes it. That 1 extra point down is very, very difficult to overcome because if you're a 3-point gap, you can overcome that by just placing 1 place better in the bracket than a Dignitas. It's still possible, but with all these other teams around, it's a little less likely. You basically need Dignitas to fall out in Swiss. Even if they fall out in the 2 and 3 round, which I believe is 5 points. Yeah, it's 5 points. They would be at 21. Then TSM would have to place top 4 to tie them, which is possible. And then they would very likely tie a couple of these teams because they would be, I'm sorry, did I say, 5 plus 21, because then these teams would also be at 21 if they made a quarterfinal run. So TSM's hopes, like if you're a TSM fan, most importantly, like obviously a top 4 or better, you're probably going to need grand finals, whatever. But if you want top 4, you need Dignitas to go out early. You need them to lose in Swiss. That'll really, really help your chances because of that 1 point gap. So That is very important for TSM. Everyone else, not that important for. Shopify Rebellion, if they get a top 4, they make up that 3-point gap on Dignitas. And again, this will assume, like, I'm just going to say top 4 with the other 3 being the big 3, right? That's not always the case, but in your perfect world, if you're trying to make that major run, that's what you want. So Shopify, if they finish top 4 and no one else does, like out of this group, then they will also at least play a tiebreaker maybe versus a Dignitas, right? But we'll have to see how it all plays out. On top of that, like NRG's in a decent spot. They're at 14. They're in an okay spot, right? Because you would rather be tied here, but that 1 point, if you make top 4, you get a 3-point jump. As long as one of these other teams don't also make top 4, and Dignitas, I guess, up there, then Energy would be okay. Like, pretty much if you are a team or a fan of a team that is out of the playoff picture, you always want the good teams to do well, except for number 4, or like that last spot, right? That'll give you the best minimum points that you need to make it to the major. So you would root for Illuminati, gen.g, Energy to make top 4. So Energy, not a great spot, but not a bad spot. Like, same with Shopify Rebellion. Like, it's doable, I would say, for these two. TSM looks very unlikely. And then all these guys, if they make top 4, very likely they're playing a tiebreak at bare minimum. The only way they don't play a tiebreak is if Dignitas makes top 4. Like, or if someone makes a grand finals, obviously. But what we've been seeing, generally G2 and Gen.g are your 2 top dogs. If they are on opposite sides of the bracket, they have been facing a lot late. Very likely they're making grand finals. It's not a guarantee, but if you make a top 4 and you're one of these teams, I think you would take that. You'd be like, hey, I'll take my chances with a top 4 finish and see how it all plays out. So any of these teams have a very real possibility. We'll probably do a playoff scenario. When I do my predictions, I'll probably have 2. I'll probably do my predictions because it's just fun, whatever. Just throw it out there. Then I'll do one with like massive tie breaks that are reasonable, right? That can possibly happen, which basically would be a 2-3 Dignitas, and then you move some of these teams up and maybe like a TSM to see that massive tiebreaker. But there is a lot of room for massive tiebreaks. I believe we're doing them after Sunday. I'm not positive, though. So right after the finals. So we'll see how it all plays out. That might change. I'm honestly not sure, but we'll have to see how it all plays out. But all the top dogs basically made it. So we will get a great race to go to the major to see who goes. The only teams that didn't were deleted. They were the next highest seed, the 12th seed, to not make it. And then after that, it's kind of been like a trade-off between a lot of these teams. So we see Snowmen, Young Whippersnappers, and Muffin Men. They all made it the first qualifier. Now they're making it back in qualifier 3. They didn't make it in qualifier 2. The other thing that I want to note really quickly before we leave, is this what I need? Yes. Is Turbo's Cheeks. We got to talk about them because everyone loves Turbo's Cheeks. They were actually 1 game away from getting an RLCS point. They lost in game 5. They won 2-1 here versus Shmoo. They also went to overtime in at least their game 2 versus Shopify Rebellion, so that could have been a lot scarier. But that was yesterday. Sorry, I think. Yes, that was yesterday. Or on day 2. But Turbo Sheiks, they were literally 1 game away. 1 game away from acquiring an RLCS point. Does that mean if that happened, did Turbo technically unretire? I don't know how that terminology works. Like, if, the Hall of Fame, like, you have to be retired for 5 years to get in sports or whatever. If you get an RLCS point, do you have to reset that 5-year mark? I'm not really sure. But they were really, really close. I don't know what that says about NA, but I'm just going to leave it at that. Because I bet if they were in Europe, they wouldn't be this close. But that's just me. So I'm not going to do any more NA hate like the EU pre-show does. I can't even talk pre-show. But that's all I'm saying. But yeah, so that is how the qualifiers went. We will see them on Friday, all competing in the top 16. I forgot to put the image up of the matchups, but we'll talk about that later in our prediction video. It's not really that surprising. I could probably read them off. Nah, it's fine. We'll leave it out here for now. Maybe I'll post the image, the Reddit link in the description below, so go check that out. But thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time for some recap of that finals. And yeah, later. Bye-bye.